Welcome. We've got Carlos from San Antonio. Bastrop, welcome. We're so glad you could join us today.
Oh, San Antonio is my old stomping grounds.
I've visited a few times, but we've never been down. We haven't spent much time there. All right. We've got Facebook going. I think we're good to go. So welcome again for those of you that are just now joining us.
Oh,
Carlos, we do have all of our past webinars, and this one is being live streamed to Facebook and will be available on our Facebook page. So you can check out all of our past webinars, including this one on Facebook. All right, I have that we are right at 12:15, so we're going to go ahead and get started. One more time, welcome and thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, Stronger Brains, Brighter Outcomes. My name is Stephanie McLaughlin. I am the Training and Evaluation Specialist at Partners Resource Network. Partners Resource Network is the nonprofit agency that operates the Texas statewide network of parent training and information centers. We are funded through the Department of Education Office of Special Education Programs. Throughout Texas, we have 4 different projects known as PACT, PATH, PIN, and TEAM. Our mission here at Partners Resource Network is to empower and support Texas families and individuals impacted by disabilities or special healthcare needs. You can learn more about us on this slide right now. Couple of housekeeping things before we turn it over to Layne. If you're having any technical difficulties today, please reach out to us in the chat box and we will assist you with those. If you're needing a certificate of attendance for today's webinar, if you're joining us on Zoom, you will be receiving an email to thank you for attending today's webinar. You can follow a link in that email to get your certificate of attendance. We will have a PDF of today's PowerPoint presentation. It will be available at the end of today's presentation. I'll put the link to access that in our chat box and you can get that at the end of the presentation. We'll also have some time for question and answers at the end of today's presentation. If you're joining us on Zoom, please type your questions in the Q&A box. If you're joining us on Facebook, you can type your questions in the comments section. We are streaming this to Facebook and recording it today. So the recording will be available on our website at prntexas.org and also on our Facebook page. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest speaker and turn it over. Dr. Layne Pethick is an autism spectrum disorder and behavior consultant for Region 10 Education Service Center. He has a PhD in business organization leadership with an earned MBA and has a master's degree in special education with a concentration in autism spectrum disorder, emotional behavioral disorders, and human behavior. He also has degrees in elementary education, early childhood education, and reading. Dr. Pethick has experience as a general and special education teacher, a school administrator, district trainer, program director, and in higher education as a professor of special education, assessment, early childhood, and teacher education. He has had several articles published and he presents at local, state, national, and international conferences. Dr. Pethick has and continues to work with various countries in the areas of education and special education, including Mexico, Hong Kong, Canada, Vietnam, and all across the United States. Dr. Pethick, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're excited to hear what you have for us today.
well, it's always a pleasure to come and get to talk with everybody here. Still really weird to hear my life read out while I'm sitting here quietly. I always tell people that's probably the most awkward thing in the world is to hear people read about your bio and your life. Um, Usually, if you leave it up to me, you don't hear half the stuff that you'll hear read out. So, um, I'm always happy to be here. Anything for parents is kind of my mantra. Um, for those of you who have don't know me or whatever else, I know the whole read about and read everything that they give you is fine, but what you also need to know is 33 years ago, I moved from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada to San Antonio, Texas, and spent about 15, 16 years in San Antonio teaching I started as pre-K kindergarten teacher, moved into special ed, vice principal, principal, assistant director of sped, then a professor, did all this fun stuff. And now I'm back at Region 10. Um, and at Region 10, I do mostly what I do is just go out to schools and work with families, just to help, work with kids with kind of more intense behaviors, more supports needed and things like that. I've also been doing brain research for 20 years, and my areas for brain research have been autism, ADD, ADHD, behavior, learning, screen time, mental health, trauma. And so what I like to do is when I get a chance to talk to parents is I want parents to know, I want us to get back to realizing how much we need to go back to and enjoying our kids and how much we as parents actually do in our homes for our kids all the time, just by being there with them. We live in a world where we think we got to pay money to have better outcomes for our kids. Incorrect. The best outcomes for our kids are actually free. Parents, I will tell you what it costs. It costs time. It's going to cost time for us to spend with our kids, time for us to be with our kids, times for us to have some happy conversations, sad conversations, and some hard conversations with our kids. But that literally is for the best outcomes for our children, even through what we look at in brain research, is just the time we give them. And so I put this session together just to take a look at how do we get those stronger minds? How do I take my child and get them the strongest mind, strongest brain they can possibly have? Because the stronger my brain, the better my brain is equipped, the better and brighter my future can be. And that is regardless of disabilities on this one, too. Um, I've seen some incredible, incredible kids who a lot of other people have written off go out in that world and just do incredible things. And I tell people the one thing we always have to rely on is the one thing we should never um, diminish or lose hope or lose sight of is that's hope. And so what I'd like to do is take the next 45 minutes or so, and then I'll open up to questions and answers. But take the next 45 minutes to just say, hey, you know what? Parents, okay, pay money for whatever it is you want. But when I was a dad and a single dad at that, raising my kids, I didn't have a lot of money to go dish out for other people to do things for me. It was something I had to figure out, how do I do the best I can with my kids? When I learned better ways, I did better things. And that's my hope for all parents. I tell parents, I was stuck in a lot of places where I just did the best I could in the time I had and where I was. And sometimes it wasn't great, but I can't sit and dwell on it. When I figured out better ways to do it, I just tried better ways. And so I always want to pass that along to parents. Just, you know what, it isn't the programs and clubs and this is stuff for your kids. It's actually us. It's us, not programs, that has the biggest effect for our kids. And I want parents to be have that empowerment to understand that. And so stronger minds, brighter futures. Here's my favorite thing when I share with parents. It is not our job to be the cool parent. It is our job to be the make them a good human being parent. What I'm seeing a lot now in our world is everybody wants to be their child's friend. I want my child to like me. We try so hard for our kids to like me. Parents, please understand, you have to have those times where your child doesn't like you. Your child's going to be mad at you. They're going to be upset at you. I hope you understand that those moments that seem to be in conflict are actually vital to the relationship piece you will have with your child as they continue to grow and develop. And so I don't want to be the cool parent. I even told my own kids, I'm not the cool dad. I'm going to make you a good human being in this world. And so that's kind of what I want us to look at and understand with our kids. Here's a hard talk to have. I've been doing brain research for a long time. We've been looking at a lot of things with families and parenting and development in the early years. And it sounds really harsh, but I'll explain it to you in just a minute. The first 5 years last forever. So, all of my parents in this room, my educators in this room, whomever joined us today, I appreciate that you're here. I have a CASA advocate in here. Fantastic. I helped with CASA when I was down in San Antonio. Um, as an advocate, it's good to know all these things. The first 5 years last forever. I tell parents, what happens with your child from birth to age 5 will last forever. Now, depending on what that is, will dictate whether if it's going to last forever, And what we need to worry about is if some of it didn't work out well, we have to now mitigate it for the rest of their life. We have to teach them different ways to cope with what's coming in or to cope with the things that were done the first 5 years. Parents, it's a big job. It's a huge, huge responsibility for us as parents to realize that literally those first 5 years mean almost everything for our child. Can we change it? Yes, but that's the hard part is once it's in by age 5, it never goes away. We now have to teach how to mitigate it, change it, or whatever. If you take a look at the bottom, this especially holds true with reading and behavior. I'm going to share with you the coolest piece of research I have to date. It just came out recently, and I got to give it to everybody. I hope someone in this chat today has a child that is in between birth and 5, because I'm so excited to give you this information. Research now shows that the more a child plays between birth and age 6, the better their behavior and social emotional outcomes are for the rest of their life. Listen to that again. The more our children play from birth to age 6, the better their behavior and social emotional for the rest of their life. Parents, this does not include technology of any kind. This is play with blocks, play with games, play board games, card games with you. Do all those things. Play outside, run around. My own quiet play in the corner with my cars or my dolls. Play, 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 play. Parents, if there's one thing I need to advocate for everybody for is we have to have our kids play more. The more I play from birth to 5, the better my brain gets developed for the rest of my life. The more I play from 5 to 19, the stronger my synapses become and my neural pathways become in my brain. And here's the cool stuff. The more we play from 19 till the day we die, the more we can keep our brain strong and maintain through our lifetime. Play is the ultimate for all of us in our brains. Reading and behavior rely heavily on the first 5 years of life. Reading, the more print you can put me around, the more books I can touch, the more books you read to me, the more vocabulary you expose me to, the more talking we do back and forth, all screen free, 0 screens. The better my reading becomes. The quicker that when full instruction and more intense instruction in reading comes in around kindergarten, first grade, the more apt I'm going to read quicker. So first 5 years is huge for our kids. Make it a good 5 years. You can't be perfect. I definitely was not the perfect father from birth to 5 for my children. I do understand. We do sometimes, it's not always the best. But again, as I tell people, sometimes we do the best we can in the times we're in. And you got to cut yourself some slack and some grace on that sometimes too. So just do the very best you can those first 5 years. It's huge for our kids. And so with that, I share this idea of wet cement. I tell parents, picture your child's brain as wet cement, especially from about birth to age 9. That cement is wet. You can shape it, you can mold it, but more importantly, especially from birth to 5, when you think of their brain like wet cement, it means everything that happens, everything you do, every interaction, everything I do from birth to 5 gets imprinted in that cement. Come on. Some of you in this room, you know what I'm talking about. You ever have they put a new sidewalk down or put a new driveway in and you stick your hand in that wet cement to leave your imprint in it? Picture that, parents, as what we're doing to our children's brains, especially from birth to 5, but it gets extended out to age 9. Once we hit age 9, that wet cement isn't so wet anymore. It starts to harden a little bit. And now think about it. If all the things I've needed to know in my life is like all my social emotion, my behavior, my parameters, how learning all the important things I got to learn in the early years, if they're not in a good place and those imprints aren't good imprints, they start to harden around age 9. Now, please understand, it doesn't mean they're there forever. They harden, but think about it. Once cement hardens and it's got imprints in it it shouldn't, you can go back and change the cement and relay it, but think about the extra work it's going to take now. So if my behaviors aren't dealt with early on, if my social emotional isn't dealt with early on, if my brain development isn't dealt with early on, that cement starts to harden. And now to go back and change, let's say, a behavior, I got to chisel that out of the harder cement now, get it all ready and prepared, lay in new cement and help it harden and dry. I have to replace it. It's possible. It just takes an extra long time to make that change in the brain after that area. So I tell parents it is huge for us to look at behaviors, recognize behaviors. What we think is cute at 3 is no longer cute at 9, 10, 11, and 12. And so how do we work with our kids with behavior and that wet cement idea of the time limits we have? So just something to give you a neat little analogy on how we do things with our kiddos' brains. Um, so Stephanie, if you want, you don't have to interrupt, but if there's questions that come up that people want, I don't mind being interrupted at any time. If y'all got a question, just throw it in chat, throw it in uh, the question and answer box. I think there is one, and just ask away. I don't mind stopping and answering questions along the way. I'm going to have you all help do something here in a minute in chat. We're going to play a little true false game together here in a minute. So I'm going to get you guys ready. I hope you're comfortable with using chat because I'm going to get you to kind of answer some of those things in chat. So in the next 40 minutes or so as we're together, these are the things we're going to cover. We're going to talk about technology because I will never go a moment with parents and not talk about technology and what we need to start doing. Play, nature, handwriting. You have no idea how important handwriting is to our children. As soon as your kid can even pick something up to write with and scribble it on a paper, get going. The neural pathways handwriting forms in the brain are massive and they are absolutely important because they interconnect with the reading neural connectors in the brain and they build each other up. Problem is, in the last 2 years, we now have 2 generations of kiddos in our society that were never really taught handwriting because we're too busy swiping or typing. And because I'm too busy swiping and typing, I didn't get those neural pathways put into place. Those neural pathways are vital for so many things the rest of my life. Problem is, for those 2 generations, we're pretty much done. It's going to be hard, if even possible, to get those neural pathways back. So handwriting, coloring, drawing, we're going to cover that and why it's important. At home, things to do at home, encourage it at home, how to make me love it at home, and different things. And then parents, we're going to talk about being a role model, but in a different way. I'm going to take the brain side of being a role model. We're going to talk about something called mirror neurons that all this research is coming out in now. And parents, there are some things we have found out that's probably going to jar you a little bit about mirror neurons and what it means for you with your kiddos, teachers with your kiddos, adults around your kiddos. And so that's kind of our talk today. Hope you guys enjoy it. Ask questions anytime. I'll do my best to answer them. I always tell people if there's a question you ask that I don't know, you're going to hear, I don't know. Simple as that. So there we go. First thing we're going to do is celebrate this. Anyone in this room who is bilingual, multilingual, speaks more than one language, you officially have the strongest brain on the planet as we are here today. Bilingual, multilingual brains are the absolute most incredible brains, strongest brains that walk this planet, bar none. The only one that is getting close to the bilingual brain for strength and just how dynamic it is actually the autistic brain. Um, yeah, that's a whole nother training. And so things to look about, parents, what I do this is because it is so much easier for me to learn another language up until about age 12. The best time for me to learn a language is from birth to 5. From birth to 5, both parts of my brain are lit up, on fire, ready to go to learn language. And all I got to do, no instruction needed. I just got to be around the language and I'll learn it. So from birth to 5, expose me to as many languages as you can. My brain will literally learn it by just being around it. Once I hit 5 to 8, I'm going to need a little bit of instruction, but not that intensive. I just need a little bit of instruction with it. From 8 to 12, I'm going to need a little more instruction, some moderate instruction. Once I hit 12 to 15, the right side of my brain starts to completely shut off in helping with learning a language. And guaranteed by 18 or 19, the right side is completely done. And that's why it is so hard for us as adults to learn another language. And so get the languages in. It does such wonders for the brain if I learn languages early in life. And so just something to put in there. I do play breaks all the time for my parents right now, just so you know, in the United States. And please understand, most of the context I put in regarding with school age kids is school age kids in the United States. So school age children in the United States, as we sit here today with each other, have some of the weakest brains known in human evolution in the last 200 years. There are three big reasons for it. We're going to talk about some of them today. One of them is probably not going to feel real good when we talk about it, but it's something we have to talk about. And well, probably a couple of them may not feel real good, depending on your thoughts on some of them. But what we need to learn is we got to get back to playing. Play will offset some of that developmental issues we're finding in our school age kids' brains. Play, get me outside, do more outside. Let me play board games, play card games, all kinds of stuff. We have strong brain activities. If you've been with me before, I do these all the time. Strong brain activities, we've researched back home in Canada that if you do them for about 10 seconds with your kids, it takes their brain to the gym. It would light up like a Christmas tree if I could do the brain scan on them. So we're going to do a couple. I encourage you to do it because we're all sitting in front of screens, which, by the way, is the worst way for a human brain to learn, but it's not bad to do stuff like this on. So, because it's not very long. So, and you're adults. So, there you go. So, here we go. We're going to do a couple of strong brain breaks, just some simple ones. So, while you're sitting or standing, wherever you are at, whatever's comfortable for you, rotate your neck in any direction. As you rotate your neck in that direction, rotate your tongue inside your mouth in the opposite direction. And see, just you and your kids for fun can do that for about 10 seconds. You took your kid's brain to the gym. You gave that brain a massive workout, which means if I could scan the brain, most of the brain's going to be lit up and you can see where the synapses and neural pathways are getting a workout. The stronger they are, the more I can process, the more I can analyze, and the more that branches out later on in life. So simple and easy. Here's another one. It's one of my favorites, but you have to stand up for this one. So if you got a place to stand up, I'll give you a second, just stand up. And what I want you to do is, now it's a balance one too, because balance is highly important to our brain. But if your balance isn't very good, no harm, no foul. Put your left hand on a table somewhere or a chair. Put your right foot in front of you and on the floor, make a circle clockwise with your right foot. As you're making that circle clockwise, hold out your right hand and point with your index finger. Now what I want you to do is draw a big number 6 in the air. And that's just another one, a simple one. I have a lot of these. I share them out with people. If you're interested in the list, I can send you the list. Parents, educators, all my friends who are on the Zoom with me today, all I ask when you get information from me, please just promise me you'll try something and you'll share it with somebody. Those are my rules. And so there's a play break for you because it's after lunch. The after lunch group is never the easiest group to talk to. So here's what we're going to start with. Unplug the technology and plug them back into the world. We have to start this. There is no more nice out of me on this one. 10 years ago, when I first started talking about this, well, more like 15 years ago, when we first started talking about this, we were doing research in Canada on it. We found out that it has a detrimental effect on children's brain development. I remember coming back to the States, and whenever I could do trainings, I got not good looks from people. People wanted they wanted me to leave the building because I was not talking nicely about this technology stuff that's coming out. Problem is, first thing you need to realize is this. Technology is neither good nor bad. It's how we use it. And in the United States, we have gone so far to the right of abusing it, us coming back anytime soon isn't going to happen. We have literally abused technology with our children in this country, like abused. I tell people it is wild what we are doing right now with our kids, and we all know. I don't know if there's a single human I've ever talked to in the last 10 years that won't say, yes, technology, it's horrible, it's terrible. Well, then why are we still doing what we do? And it's because of a behavior adults have. It's a comfort behavior that sometimes keeps kids quieter. We don't have to attend to them as much. I don't have to worry about them as much. It puts them off to the side as much. A lot of that is, oh, and then we're told that it's better for our kids. Well, no, it's not. So I tell people, we need to use technology as a tool, not a toy. Our children should be taught it as a tool. And it's funny because I can go anywhere from kindergarten to 12th grade. Majority of kids nowadays don't even know what an email is or how to send one. They don't know how to do good research online. No one's taught them how to use technology as a tool. But if I ask them to look up a video on YouTube, they got that in a second, or TikTok. And I tell people, there's our problem. We haven't taught our kids the wonderful benefits technology actually could be to us. But the problem is the way they've used it, it's pulled them away from the world and put them into this technology world. We need to start working on pulling them back. And so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up the chat box and I got true or false questions. And all I'm going to ask is everybody in here today, what I want you to do is if you please, 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 everybody participate to the best you can. Pull up your chat boxes. I'm going to put something up on the screen and I'll read it to you. You have to decide if it's true or false and just type it into the chat. How's that sound? Everybody up for it? Let me pull a chat box up here quick. All right, all right. I got the chat box. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I don't want the big, like the size of my screen. I can't read anything. Oh my goodness. Zoom. Zoom is the bane of my existence right now. All right, here we go. So, um, let me do this. Let me shrink my chat box up a little bit. Nope, I can't. It's not letting me. All right, so here we go. True or false? Oops, hold on. Screen time is more addictive than some illegal drugs. True or false? Oh, wow. Yeah, you guys are lighting up the chat like I've never seen before. And everybody, from what I can see, if I can read that many truths all at once, you are correct. We now know screen time is uh, it is actually more addictive on how quickly we can get there because of the dopamine hits we're getting with it. And the smaller brains and the children's brains are latching onto that dopamine much quicker than even some illegal drugs do for some people. So I tell people, we now know though screen time is as addictive as cocaine and heroin. And so I will tell you all, I've been doing screen time research in the brain for about the last 15 years. It started in Canada. Um, and the addiction we don't need to worry about if we didn't get so carried away with technology. We are carried away with technology in our country. We are a little bit over the edge, especially with our children. Parents in here, my thing to tell you is when your kids are addicted, and we have kids, the average age in the United States right now for addiction is kindergarten. Um, I will tell you what's important to understand is it's an addiction we can come back from, but you're going to need to use outside for the quickest results. So I tell parents, if your child's on a screen of any kind, rule of thumb that we worked with families in Canada and some of the families I've worked with here in the States is for every minute you're on your screen, you owe us a minute outside. And you leave it at that. And I tell people it's funny because kids start to now self-regulate their use because they want to be on their screen, but you go binge it for 3 hours. You now don't get that screen or any screen time back till you spend 3 hours outside. And it's funny because they'll get mad. Well, I don't want to be outside. Well, but you decided that was the rule. That's the rule we have. You decided to spend that much time, so now you got to go outside. And it's funny because then they start learning how to do their own give and take with it. It's worked really well for a lot of families who are dealing with highly addicted adolescents and younger kids and teens. And so just something to try, but it is very addictive. And so you ready for the next one? Screen time. Some screen time is fine before age 3. True or false? Oh, nice, everybody. I appreciate the input. All right, so here it is. It is actually false. Actually, we are now finding it was told that, oh, yes, they can do Zooms with family, things like that. No. Screen time, it's not fine before age 3. Before age 3, there should be zero screen time. Actually, France just released it. They're looking at no screen time before age 6. Um, just because it's interesting because of the brain studies that they've done that even like the slightest amount of time with younger brains, they've noticed um, rewiring differences and things like that. And so it's an interesting thing. So some screen time is not, no, but I get it. Everybody in this room, there's the reality of living in the United States is it's hard to get away from. All I ask is that be very diligent in how much and when and why and if it does have to happen before age 3. That's all I ask is just be aware of it, realize let's not get it carried away. No, it is not okay to throw your kid on educational videos when they're young. No, it's better that they have mom and dad face to face doing things with them. The outcomes are much better. And so it's interesting. I tell people, all the studies that are out there. And like I said, please trust me, I love technology. I love it. I think it could be the greatest thing on the planet for our children. Problem is now AI comes into place and we all freak out. Well, we have nothing to freak out about. There's nothing wrong with AI so long as we teach kids to use it the right way and teach adults to use it the right way. And so there's just lots of things to look at. Most adults in the United States are also addicted to their technology. True or false? I said most, so it's not all, but most. Alex, I think it was, I couldn't see the name because names are scrolling so quick, but I think it was Kat who said, speaking from experience. Yeah. Yeah, it is true. In the United States, most adults are now addicted to their screens. And trust me, it's hard to help parents and teachers wean kids off screens when the adults themselves are addicted to it also. Or when society as a whole is addicted to technology the way it is, I'm almost like the big bad ogre coming along, spreading woes to everybody. That's kind of how I get looked at sometimes. But I tell people it's just true. It is. There, you go sit in public, go sit down at a restaurant and look around. How many people are having a face-to-face conversation versus sitting on their phones? Pay attention. Majority of the time, you're going to see people in front of their phones, even when family members are sitting right next to them. Those are problems. Whether we want to admit it or not, that's a huge problem. And so, just some things to consider. Now, I got to shrink my chat box. My apologies on this one. Um, Children's use of technology is the number one reason behaviors have increased and learning academics have decreased. True or false? Let me pull my chat back up again. So, people are like, not sure on this one, I'm guessing. So here it is. This one's an interesting one to answer. At the basis of it all, actually, it's true. Technology use and the increase of technology use, both at home and in schools and in society, it has been looked at as actually being the number one reason of increased behaviors, decreased academics. However, in the United States, there's two other reasons that add in. We call it the big three. There are three major reasons in the United States that our children's behavior has increased and academics have decreased. Technology is kind of the number one of those three, but the other two add quite a bit also. So if so, it's a tough one to answer. You can kind of write either way on this one, which I love questions like that. So we'll talk about the other two in a minute, but yeah, look at Sweden. Sweden just this year decided enough's enough. They've been doing longitudinal studies pretty much since COVID on the impact of technology in academics. And they found out that the number one impact on academics in Sweden was the use of technology in the schools, and they've actually taken it out of their schools. Um, Technology is part of learning now, but that's where I tell people it's um, it should be part of learning. It really isn't good learning that we're using it for, though. I tell people when I still work with kids who don't know how to utilize technology other than to play an education game or look up a video, technology is not part of learning. We mistake it as it. We'll buy, oh, these reading programs that have these cute little cartoons and cute little things on it. That's actually not helping the learning process, especially with reading. It's I need something that's going to help back up some skill sets for me that teaches me how to use things as a tool to be a supplement to learning. Technology is not the teacher. We've made it the teacher a lot of times. Technology is a supplement to something I've already taught and worked with my kids. And so that's kind of the way to look at it. So it is a big part of and integrated into our schools, into our community, but it's how we've been using it that we've kind of fallen short. And so one of the next ones, is this is something to think about. So I appreciate you guys with the true and false. You did awesome. You guys had things scrolling so quick I could barely follow names, but that's all right. I appreciate it. Here's something to think about. Parents. Well, and teachers now too. So, but mostly parents now. Here we go. Mirror neurons and technology habits of children. This is new research, just came out earlier this year. And this is something we need to take a look at. Mirror neurons are those neurons in the human brain that will, what I see gets mirrored back in as learning into my brain. It is a mirror. And so, what I tell parents, I'm like, parents, everything you do through the day around your children, hold up a mirror and watch yourself do it because that's what their brain is actually learning from. I tell people, especially from birth to about age 9, mirror neurons are the main way children learn. They don't listen to us, they watch us. I also tell people this is the why we have huge hiccups in social skills, especially in autism. I tell people mirror neurons are alive and well in kids with autism, which means if you want me to learn social skills and I'm an 8-year-old boy, who should I be around to learn good social skills? Other 8-year-old boys that'll be good role models, or other 8-year-olds that are in my school that I can be role models, aka my peers. I should be around my peers to learn what I need to learn. Sitting me in a room by myself with other people struggling with the same issues and doing this stuff back and forth is not really helpful. I have to see it and then I have to practice it with my peers for better outcomes. Mirror neurons are the reason for that. We don't learn social skills by being told. All of us in this world have learned social skills by what we see. And so mirror neurons are huge for that side of it. But here's what we also know. Let's say I'm a dad and my children are 10 and 12 and they're not allowed to have phones. No, I'm that parent. You're not going to get phones. You're not going to get tablets. I'm going to watch your technology use at home. I'm going to make sure I'm going to be that parent. I'm going to set those boundaries on you. However, I'm the dad that's going to pull up my phone every second I have and just sit and doom scroll and do all that stuff. Do you realize we now know that from birth to about age 10 or 12, children just have to watch their parents and their parents' phone habits? And if their parents are addicted to their phones and their parents are always doing stuff on their phones, their mirror neurons actually create that habit in their brain without them ever touching a phone. Isn't that wild? So basically, it's also us, the adult side, and our behaviors. And us as the role models means a huge thing to our kids. And I always called it the hypocrite factor. Don't be a hypocrite. You're telling me no, 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 but yet you sit in front of me and do it. That's not a good thing because I will watch you, even though I don't have my own phone, but I will create the habit in my brain because of my mirror neurons and from what I keep seeing from you. It is wild what we're finding out. Mirror neurons. Now, if you're an educator in this room or you work with children in this room, think about what that means for you. They have their mirror neurons on all the time. And so that means they're always watching us. They're watching what we do, how we do it, when we do it, why we do it, everything. And we got to make sure that what we tell them matches what we do. It's important for that side of it. And so I tell people that keep this in mind regarding social media and children, adolescents, and yourselves. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And so that's social media. You are technically their product when you sign up for social media. The stuff they collect off of you is crazy. And so just some things to think about. But like I said, please understand, if we did technology the way we needed to, used it as a supplement, allowed, put better boundaries in place, technology would be one of the greatest assets we had on our planet. And I hope one day we get back there. So in the meantime, as I move on, the next topic I was going to
Layne,
come. Whoa, that was loud. Sorry.
sorry. Layne, we've got a question in the
Woo.
chat.
Hold on. I need to drink a coffee to calm the nerves on that one. Wow. I didn't realize I had my thing turned up that loud.
We've got a question in the chat on mirror neurons. So while
Mm.
you're still on that topic, do mirror neurons bypass your executive functioning, or how do mirror neurons and executive functioning work
So
together?
mirror neurons, if my brain is developing the way it looks or needs to pretty much, mirror neurons add in to what my executive function are trying to build up. However, if I have a hiccup with my executive functions, I got a hiccup with those different areas, mirror neurons are probably going to be the stronger intake. Um, because I'm going to probably do more of what I see than what I'm actually cognitively trying to learn. Does that make sense? Um, Mirror neurons are part of our overall basis of our brain to help with all the learning and development, which includes executive functions. And so they should be working to create better outcomes for executive function. But I know for some kiddos, when there's a deficit, um, when there is a cognitive issue with the executive functions, mirror neurons can actually be that way that um, they can compensate for it also a little bit to try and get me going before the cognitive side kicks in and starts processing things the right way. Mirror neurons are relied heavily on learning everything. Mirror neurons we're finding out are the way we, especially when we're young and developing, we truly start. That's how we just mirror neurons are just allowing us to bring in that information and we basically do what we see. And you know, when people argue against it, I say, well, look at upbringing of our children. Look at what our children are exposed to. Even in the other mental health world, we have this thing called ACEs. What are ACEs? ACEs are things I was exposed to, adverse things that my mirror neurons got to witness and see and learn from, and that's my learning outcomes. And so I tell people, you know, we this mirror neuron research is incredible coming out right now. It gives us a whole new outlook on kind of what we do. You know, I always tell people the travesty in education, and I think one of the most hurtful things I think I've ever seen come out in education in the 33 years I've been in education was when that notion of don't let them see you smile for the first 6 weeks of school. Whoever came up with that, to me, that's almost borderline abusive because think about the mirror neurons. Kids who heavily rely on mirror neurons, like autism and a lot of kids like that, because our autistic population relies heavily on those mirror neurons. And so you're not smiling, you look angry, you're all a curmudgeon. What is that doing to me? Because mirror neurons, I should probably add this into, welcome to my ADD brain. Mirror neurons are actually what help us learn to self-regulate, which means this. So everybody in this room with me today, every adult in this room, until age 19 to 22, every time you're around another human being age birth to 19 to 22. So from birth to 19 to 22, we put that range because that's the adolescence ending range. But from birth all the way up to there, every time you're around another human being that age, you are automatically co-regulating with that human. And co-regulation occurs through the mirror neurons and what I'm seeing you do and how you act and how you feel. And it directly gets fed back in that mirror neuron piece to how I should feel. And so think about that, about co-regulation, which is why I tell people your behavior management, parents, even yours, parents in here, your ability to manage your child's behavior, teachers, your ability to manage behavior in the classroom literally are predicated on just two things, your ability to stay calm and your ability to self-regulate. I can give you the greatest behavior programs on the planet. I can make you read any book in the world. I can send you to any behavior therapy in the world. It does not matter if you can't stay calm and self-regulate. If the adults around the children cannot stay calm and self-regulate, behavior is always going to be a struggle. End of story. Because they're watching, they're co-regulating with you. If your nervous system is up and you don't self-regulate well, what are you teaching them? Adults who can't self-regulate can't teach children to self-regulate. And that's how this works. And so a lot of times when I do behavior interventions or I do go to schools to work with teachers, I work with families, I'm teaching the adults about their triggers. We're talking to the adults about how do you get yourself calm? And when you start getting anxious, how do you get yourself away? Because it is about how we conduct business when it comes to stuff like that. And mirror neurons play a huge factor into that. And so I hope that's a big, long answer to a question. But yes, it's mirror neurons are just those mirror neurons that just help us learn a lot of the things we need to. But when which feeds into our executive functions. But if our executive functioning skills are minimized or diminished at a certain point, we probably rely more heavily on mimicking or mirroring back what we're seeing, which is sometimes why we get that echolalic behavior, the mimicking behavior, because I saw it, so I'm going to do that because I can't process the right way to do something right now. So I just mimic some people sometimes. And so that's kind of what we tend to see also. But on to play real quick, because I know I don't want to keep people late today, because I know it's just a short little session. But play, anytime you hear me talk, I'm always going to bring up play until I actually see play in our society, in our schools, in our homes. I will not stop talking about this. This is the most researched topic for academics and behavior that pretty much exists on the planet. It's also the one that we don't pay any attention to. And so play is huge. It wires the brain, builds the emotional muscles, unlocks creativity, strengthens my memory. Automatically, that's just the basics that play does for us. And so I already told you one of the best interventions for increasing learning, academics, and behavior outcomes is the more I play. I already told you the more I play from birth to six, the better my behavior for the rest of my life. What I also got to add to that now is the more I play all my life, the better my academics and learning will also be. And so it's interesting. We really are, the more we play, the better my academics. And in the world and society we live in with our education system, that's all about A's, B's, C's, passing some test. Yeah, the more you take play out of the equation, the less A's and passing you're going to probably see. And I tell people that's why we have a system that requires more time instead of less time. Because when you don't put play into the academic side of the world, you actually have to spend more time on academics. And usually when you spend more time on academics, it wears kids' cognitive abilities out. And then we struggle. And so I tell people it'll be a lesson one day, maybe we can turn around and learn from, but I don't really see it happening anytime soon. So nature, let's get them outside. Ladies, gentlemen, parents in here, outside is the best medicine there is on the planet for all of us. I am so excited to when I'm finished talking here with you all. Our front came through. I can see it through my window, and I'm excited to go get a breath of cooler air. That breath of cooler air automatically is going to send a medicinal like surge through my body. The number one thing nature does is it lowers anxiety and depression. It actually just doesn't lower it. Nature is the only thing that will remove both anxiety and depression from a human being. Medicine helps take the edge off. Nature can take it away. However, we're still looking, a lot of people, especially in our country, when they have high anxiety, depression issues, a lot of them don't go outside much. They stay indoors. And so if you have family or friends who struggle with it, please encourage them to go out as much as possible. Touch a tree, walk barefoot in the grass. And yes, it is science. I hate to break it to people. I know people look at me like, oh, you're a tree hugger. No, it's called science. We do exchange molecules with the earth. There is that interaction between humans and earth that actually lowers our anxiety. It's awesome. It's fantastic when you look at it through the brain science. So nature's great. By the way, parents, school-age children should be outside minimum 3.5 hours a day for proper brain development and strengthening. Us adults, 19 years and older, should be outside minimum 1.5 hours a day for brain maintenance. So those are kind of the averages. Sensory regulation, nature helps us regulate our sensory inputs, which is why the research in autism, exercise, play, and being outside are kind of the top three things that are being researched in autism right now because of the sensory issues that their brain goes through. Think about a lot of our kids. Sensory issues are on the rise, not because there's more autism, but because there's more screen time. Screen time has an effect on how our sensory inputs get put online and interconnected if we're on lots of screens when we're young. And so I come out with a lot of dysregulation with my senses. Outside can help us get that wiring back where it goes. And so anxiety, depression, already talked about it. ADD, ADHD, autism, and trauma. I tell people if I have trauma, I have autism, I have ADD, ADHD, I struggle with behavior in school, our kiddos like that should have recess 3 times more than anybody else. Being outside helps those systems, especially my nervous system, vestibular system, proprioceptive systems, helps them get reset quicker so that I can get myself recollected faster. Doesn't mean the behaviors are going to go away, but it does kind of lessen the severity of the behavior itself. And by the way, ADD, ADHD, for those of you in here who have kiddos with it, or you may have it yourself, I got ADD. It is absolutely fantastic. I love every second of my ADD. But outside for a 20-minute walk is equivalent to taking their pharmaceutical drugs. That research is awesome. That research came out about 6 years ago in Canada. And so my favorite medicine is right out those doors, which is where I'm going to head after I'm done talking to all of you. And so vitamin D, we get it from the sun. We have a lot of kids in our country that have a vitamin D deficiency. Unfortunately, a vitamin D deficiency, if it's gone unchecked, it can create cognitive decline in the human brain by early adolescence. And so all you got to do is get outside for 20 minutes of sun, get some of that vitamin D, and it's going to be good for our kiddos. So there's the hours. 3.5 is for kids, 1.5 is for us adults to be outside every day. Now, I don't have time for a play break because I want to get this done because I'm going to stop for questions here in about 5 minutes. Handwriting. Oh my goodness. Everybody, when I say handwriting, I bet you half of you are picturing those crazy lines in elementary that you had to stay in with the ball and stick. Yeah, please don't think about handwriting like that anymore. And if you are, get it out of your head. Handwriting is basically as soon as I can get a piece of paper in my hand. Let me see. Here's a piece of paper here. I got something to write with, chalk, crayon, pencil, marker, and I just scribble like this. Ta-da, I'm handwriting. I tell people we got to get back to getting this in place. I don't have time to give you the whole big thing about handwriting. It is fascinating what it does for our brains, especially when we're birth to 9. Oh, it's huge for our kids from birth to 9. And it's never too late. Let's get it in their hands. Even if I'm in college, get me to color, draw, write. And so these are the brain boosting reasons for handwriting. Build stronger brain wiring, supercharges memory and learning, boosts focus and attention. It actually ignites creativity and idea flow in the brain. And it strengthens my fine motor skills and self-regulation skills. Handwriting increases self-regulation. Um, Ideas for home. I put this in here. Parents, you have a kid who hates writing. I've had kids who've taken pens or pencils and throw them across the room. So if that's the case, don't keep forcing me. Give me some Play-Doh. Let me build with Play-Doh. Building with blocks is good too, but Play-Doh is actually some of the best. Play-Doh, the kinetic sand, that stuff's cool. Not gonna lie, I enjoy that stuff. Um, Coloring, cutting, drawing, and doodling. I tell everybody, when you start teaching me how to handwrite, no matter my age, blank paper. Stop putting lines on a piece of paper. Give me blank paper. I'll start scribbling. And when you start seeing me make straighter lines, making curves the right way, then I'm ready to start maybe formulating letters. I will tell you right now, I work with a lot of kids in pre-K and K that are coming to school that they're not even sure what to do with a pen or a pencil. It doesn't matter. Give me something to write with. Let me start scribbling. Once I start figuring this all out, and once I can start making straighter lines in my scribbles or curved lines in my scribbles, then let's get busy with maybe trying some different shapes. I always tell people we're in such a hurry for letters that we're so weirdly, you know, like focused on ball and stick, and this that we cause the nervous system to basically just like go crazy. And then it sends that thing to our amygdala like this is not right. This isn't work, and fight, flight, or freeze kicks in for writing a lot of times. I tell people what happens is we by nature, when we're allowed to draw, color, and just randomly do that, parents and teachers, you'll notice that eventually I'll start straightening things out. I'll start putting things in straighter lines. I'll start making more complete lines, more complete circles. When that happens, then you can put a line on the page to help me get going. But until I get to that point, putting lines on a page, my brain now goes from just figuring out how to write and having some fun with it to now I have boundaries. And those boundaries are now almost paralyzing to me. And then I stop writing. And please, 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 no more of those dotted letters. Like, no, those dotted letters wreak havoc with some people's visual cortex. Just let me practice, show me, give me approximations, and let me get it through. If I'm allowed to progress through writing the way I need to, the neural pathways it creates is off the charts. Drawing with pencil, pen, markers, crayons. By the way, you want to hear something cool? Switching your kiddo from a marker or a pen to a pencil, just that tiny change in friction creates new neural pathways in their brain. Switching from the pencil to chalk, which has more friction, more new neural pathways get created. It's awesome what we're finding out. Writing positions doesn't have to be sitting with my feet down at a table. Lay on my back, lay on my stomach, stand up and write on chart paper on the wall. All of that stuff is fantastic. Parents, this one is for you. You are welcome. There's even research that shows getting your children to do the dishes at home because you're having to pick up all these little things and hold them while you dry them and wash them does wonders for writing. Doing the dishes. See? You're welcome. There you go. And so the last one I got before I wrap it up is we got to be role models. This is for us adults, us parents especially. Parents, we have to be the role models our kids need for us. Adults, we got to be the role models our kids need for us. If we don't self-regulate properly, children will never learn from us how to self-regulate. If I don't know how to stay calm when things get chaotic, children are never going to learn how to stay calm when things get chaotic. They literally are watching us, not listening to us. And so it's about us as adults recognizing our triggers, what sets us off, and then honestly looking at, well, why does that bother me? Why does that trigger me? What do I need to work on so I don't go, lose my cool when that happens. And so mirror neurons are a big part of that for our kids because they watch us. But here's just some friendly advice I'm going to share with you. Parents, it is showing that if we spend a minimum 20 minutes a day with our children, just doing what they want to do, not technology, that has a massive impact on their social well-being, their behavior, and yes, even their academics. But it's them. All right, what do you want to do? I'll do whatever you want to do. And you literally do that with your children for 20 minutes a day minimum. No technology. That's the hard part sometimes. So parents, 20 minutes a day. The average right now in the United States for parents just doing what their kids want to do and they do it with them, I hate to break it to you, the research I saw was about 6 minutes a day. And so it's interesting because think about it. They come home. Where's your homework? Do this, do this, do this. How about we just sit and do what you want to do? And so it helps with that connection piece between you and your child too. It actually shows that it lowers parental anxiety also. Chores and jobs are amazing to increase self-esteem and self-confidence. Remember, doing dishes is good for handwriting. And so chores and jobs, it's because as much as I may tell you I hate doing chores and jobs, kids who do have chores and jobs, not only does it do the self-confidence and self-esteem, but it also makes me feel like I'm part of the family. And that's a big thing to have, especially nowadays, is that I feel like I'm part of this family and I belong. Um, this one I put in big bold letters because this is one we have got to start working on. Doing too much for your child only increases your self-esteem. It actually steals theirs. So I'll let that sit for a second. This is a hard one for some parents to hear, and I understand. I get it. We want to do all we can for our kids. We want to save our kids. We want to make sure they have the best life they can possibly have. Sometimes we parents do it out of guilt of the life we were raised in. But I tell parents, doing too much only increases your self-esteem. It steals theirs. The more you do for your child, the more you save them, the more you do things for them, the more you try and get them out, then it actually pulls away from their self-esteem. And when you do too much for me, it also can lead into something called entitlement. And the one thing we also know through research is entitled people can never be happy. If you're always scurrying around to make them happy and do things that they want, do all these things all the time, you're actually creating the opposite outcome for our kids. And so these are two harder things to say to parents, but they're two important things that we need to talk about. They need to be out there. Um, we all want the best for our kids. There isn't a parent I've ever met that doesn't. But I tell parents it isn't our job to save them from everything, to protect them from everything. I always looked at, I walk by I walk beside my children. My kids are 32 and 30. I've walked by their side as their dad their whole life. When they fail or they stumble, I allow them to fail and stumble, but then I teach them how to get back up. And I've done that their whole life. When you stumble, when you go through hard times, when you've done something wrong, I'm not going to save you, but I'm going to be there to teach you on how to get back up. And that helps us with resiliency, the self-esteem and all that kind of stuff. And so don't worry, I stumbled along the way too. So don't think I was a perfect parent because I was far from it. But it was one of the things I learned is just help my kids learn it because we got to help them take on their own problems and fix their own mistakes. Um, if our children do wrong to someone else, I made sure my kids went back and fixed that wrong with the person they did it to. And so, or fix the issue that they created. That's actually the ultimate consequence. The ultimate consequence to any behavior is you make me go back and fix the wrongs I did with the behavior I had. And those are things to think about also. And so the last one is praise effort is much better than praising talent because effort is something I can always work on. Talent sometimes comes and goes. And so, last thing, as I end up, I leave you with this. I'm sure you're ready for it to be done because you know what? You're after lunch crowd and you're always fun. A parent's job isn't to raise a child who never fails, it's to raise one who knows how to pick themselves up every time they do. And with that, that's what I leave you with. Parents, good luck. Keep going, keep smiling, keep doing what you do. Being a parent is the toughest job that exists on the planet. And if you ever do it perfect, you need to contact me because I sure didn't do it perfect. But you know what? The mistakes I made, I share with others because hopefully you won't make some of the mistakes I made. And I have found out more about parenting since my kids have been grown and gone than I did probably when I was raising them. And I want others to have what I didn't have when you're raising your kids. So parents, if you ever need anything, let me know. I'll help you out with whatever you got. And with that, I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. There's my info. Oh, I didn't have so I have my cell number I put on these because I travel so much for work and I'm always in schools working with kids. If you ever need to get a hold of me, it's always best to text. So I'll give you my number. I'll put it in chat. Is that okay? Um, and if you need anything, just let me know.
All right. Layne, Dr. Pethick, thank you so much for this wealth of information. In the chat box, if you missed it, I did put a link to get a copy of today's presentation. So you've got those slides and that wealth of information as well. As he has his phone number in there, but I also put Dr. Pethick's email address in the chat box as well. So let's take just a minute for questions. If you've got a question, you can type it in the Q&A box. We've got a couple of things going on. So we've got one question in the chat box, or the Q&A, sorry. How can you help my son get out of the fight or flight mode? And there's a little like added information if you want to take a look at that.
Oh, let me see. So I'll ask Carlos, how about take my info down? And usually, like with parents like yourself, I can set up a Zoom and we can just talk things through because there's probably a lot of things that I need to ask you. And I don't want to put it up there in front of everybody else. But do me a favor, take my stuff down, send me an email or send me a text, and we'll set up a Zoom and we can chit chat because there's some things I think I can help you with on that one. So
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's take one more look. I think we're good on questions. So thank you. I always learn something from you when you're here with us. And I love the formula of 1 hour of screen time is 1 hour of outside time.
yeah.
Great for our kids, but great for us as well as adults to keep that in
Yeah, and
mind.
I have to admit, as a parent, learning about mirror neurons as much as we have this last 5 years, oh Lord, that explains a lot with my kids. Just so y'all know, yeah, I could have used that info a while ago.
Absolutely. Great information. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. As we're wrapping up today, I'm going to share my screen and we'll cover a couple of other things as we're wrapping up. All right. So once again, thank you for joining us. I hope you took some great tips and tricks to parent and to work with children with you that you can use. As a reminder, we live streamed this and we did have a recording of the webinar. It will be available on our website at prntexas.org. If you attended through Zoom and you are needing a certificate of attendance, you will be receiving an email to thank you for attending today's webinar. If you follow that link in the email, you can get your certificate of attendance. We do have a couple other webinars coming up this fall that I want to make you aware of. On November 4th, we have Heather Sutton from Region 16 Education Service Center joining us for navigating the IFSP, that Individualized Family Service Plan. It's a guide for parents. And then on November 5th, we have Understanding the Autism Supplement with special guest Nathan Pullen from Texas Education Agency.
Nathan's awesome too.
Yes, we're looking forward to that one.
Give him a hard time, everybody.
I'll do my best.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then finally, we're going to wrap up our fall lineup of webinars on December 2nd with My Life, My Voice, the Student Involvement in Planning for Adult Life with Elizabeth Danner from TEA as well. So join us for those webinars for a wealth of information. On the screen, I've got contact information for us here at Partners Resource Network. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime for questions or for support. And Dr. Pethick, again, thank you so much.
Oh, all the time. Anytime for you all. You guys are great.
Absolutely.
So let me know.
Love it. Thank you for that wealth of information. I always take some great little tidbit away. So thank you for that. And thank you all. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the cooler weather that's coming our way, hopefully.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it also.
Thank you.